blockchain, quantum computing, metaverse, artificial intelligence. Use of these technology is the emergence of Web 3.0. Why do I like Bitcoin? The way our governments are printing money,
It's the values going down.
exactly, the value is going down. People, when they give value to something, they believe in it. For younger generation, they don't have access to that kind of product where your return is very good. It kind of give access to invest into these new assets. The technology that we have created, it has great potential. I myself is a believer of cryptocurrencies.
A lot of people say that, okay, invest in gold. It holds value. But right now, Bitcoin is going down. Should we invest in Bitcoin? For today's episode, we're gonna talk everything about Web3. Now, this concept has been around for a few years now, which is
Mm-hmm.
still in development. People are still getting to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we get deeper in Web3, let's give us an understanding of what is Web 1 and what is Web 2.
Yeah, so it's all started with, I mean, like 50 years ago or more than that. I think it all started with our computer science industry. So when we talk about Web 1.0, that's when, that was the emergence of internet. And when we started actually reading on internet, that was the start. So that's what we call Web 1.0, right? And then when we talk about Web 2.0, that's for social media. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, right? All these platforms we are using today, it's all Web 2.0. And this is where we talk about we can now read and write on internet, right? So that was Web 2.0. And I think you're now, because we talked about Web 3.0, so shall I continue on that? Or your question was only Web 1.0 or 2.0?
Yeah, no, definitely continue with what is Web 3.0 now.
Okay, because it's kind of like sequence, right? So as I said, Web 1.0 is when we started reading on internet. Web 2.0 is social media, when we could read and write on internet. And now when we talk about Web 3.0, the whole idea is now we can actually transfer value on the internet. And that's where these technologies, Internet of Things, blockchain, quantum computing, metaverse, NFTs, artificial intelligence, all these emerging technology, which has been around for a while, but in a very niche stage. And we are making more development and improvement in these areas. So that's where we will see use of these technology is the emergence of Web 3.0. And, like the simple example we can take, right? Many years ago, it was all about you kind of send a snail mail, right? And then when email came in the picture, that was like, okay, now when we send an email, there's no as such thing called email on, I mean, we don't say that cross-border email or cross-border browsing session, right? It's all globally, and you can be anywhere and access all these devices. So the same thing right now when we talk about, transfer of value. So let's say we talk about payments. Today, when we talk about payments, it's still, payments are cross-border payments, right? It doesn't have to be that way. It can be as simple as sending an email. So that's the concept behind Web 3.0.
Also in Web 3.0, we don't have the middleman, right?
Yep.
it removes the middleman.
That follows to blockchain technology only, but even though other technologies like metaverse, internet of things, all these are also part of web 3.0.
Okay, so let's just talk about blockchain. So everything Web 3.0 literally sits on blockchain.
Actually, web 3.0, when we say that, it's not only blockchain technology. Of course, blockchain is one of the technology that's part of web 3.0, but we will be using other technologies as well. So when we talk about blockchain, that's nothing but um, basically a ledger, a database ledger, which is distributed and which is on c- on different computers which are connected with each other. So it's not like there's any centralized place where you store all the data, right? The name itself is block and chain. So basically, you take the information, you store that information on a block, right? Then that
Right.
block is connected with another
Another
block, and that
block.
block is connected with another block.
Yeah.
But all these blocks are at many different computers, right? So basically, many different computers are connected with it, and then they validate the transaction. So not just one central party validating the transaction; it is many, many different parties validate the transaction, and based on that consensus mechanism, once the transaction is validated, that's when it is stored in the block, right? So it's just like a distributed way of storing information versus just having information centralized place for information. And that's where we say, right, like Facebook, YouTube, like all these big companies out there or applications we use today. There is this thing now in the Europe, there's a GDPR regulations, right? And this was all around like our consumer privacy, right? And the idea is all this information was stored as centralized resources, and then it's much easier for hackers to hack it. And then consumers suffer because of their information is stolen, versus if we have it on blockchain, which is on a distributed ledger, the security is much higher, and it's not like just one party controls it.
In terms of consumers,
Yeah.
how they can use Web 3.0 or how they can benefit from Web 3.0.
Actually, the main benefit of Web 3.0 is now consumers will have control over their data, the products they use. It's all for consumers. It's not only for corporations. So, going back to our example about Web 2.0, right? When today, content creation right now, even though what we are doing, this is also part of content creation, right? So right now it's like when you create a content and you post it on any channel where any content creator get compensated for that, right? For that content, again, that is controlled by a centralized party, right? First thing is, let's step back and take, go back to my previous example.
Okay.
When we talk about our data, right, data privacy, right now that is stored at, the products we are using basically now, our information is stored at one database, centralized, location. So that's where consumers are prone to kind of basically losing their privacy, right? And now we even say that there's no privacy as such, literally, right? We don't. That's one. Second is about, like, let's say transferring the value on the internet, right? And the payment example I mentioned. So right today, if you will look at it, actually, 2 3 weeks ago I was at Fintech South conference and I did a presentation on from Wall Street to Web 3.0. And one of the point that I shared, if you saw the first money transfer from the Western Union, it was like $300 transferred, and the total cost to transfer that money was $309.64. So that falls under like 3 to 7% fee, right? Today, even though after 150 years, that was done in 1876. today, after 150 years, our remittance fee is still that high. It still falls under 3 to 7%, right? So then, with that's like the second thing we can talk about, right? When we use Web 3.0 or blockchain technology to transfer the value, right? How can we make it much more cheaper, right? Third thing is, even we talk about metaverse, right? Literally, if you have also experienced, using VR and AR, all those devices, right? Um, Many years ago, I was in Vancouver, and actually I did that, game, Fly Over Canada, and that was a virtual reality. And so it's like you just being in that, the place, just the experiencing that virtual reality, and it was like flying over Canada. So literally, you feel like, wow, you can touch the water, you're flying over the water, you can touch the mountains, you're right there. Next day, when actually I went to see the actual place, it felt like, oh my gosh, I was just there yesterday, right? And I could touch the water. It was such an incredible experience, right? So going back to with this technology, like use of this technology. So the first point, right? The data, like basically privacy, right? So with Web 3.0, how consumers will benefit from it, because now consumers will control their
Their
information. When you're creating content, right, you on distributed platform, actually you have the power to value your content, right? You can say, okay, to view this content, you pay me certain tokens or certain points, right? And those are valued at something. So that way, as you said, there's no third party which will take a cut. So basically it's just a
okay.
platform, right, and the consumer and your content, so you have the right. And so that's one. Second example, I mentioned about cross-border payments, right? So same thing, when you do that using blockchain technology, the fee is much lower, especially with stable coins. And now these big companies, right, PayPal, they launched their stable coin. They have 450 million users. They embedded their stable coin with Venmo, and Venmo is their company. We use these products on daily basis, right? So that's like another thing where we will see the fee to transfer money will be significantly reduced, and the settlement timing will be much,
Faster.
faster. And the third thing, the metaverse example I was going to give, right, the virtual reality means to me, if I have just kind of did I mean, you just do sightseeing and you go out, and even though it's the same beach and same mountains and it's so beautiful, you just like, it's like you're looking at those things far, you're there. But with virtual reality, it feels like you're, I mean, to me at least, that experience was so incredible, and that was my first time trying virtual reality. Like, I think that was 8 years ago, 60. Yeah, it's been a while, and that time, like literally, it's like you felt like you were in a spaceship, and you're in the middle of the water. You're everywhere, like you're like a superwoman or something, right?
Like you get immersed in that world.
Exactly. So, and that same thing with metaverse means, you go and, and it feels so real when you are, you just like an object sitting here, but your avatar, you create your avatar, and you then, go to that virtual reality and you play those games. It feels so real now. Like it's hard to differentiate.
So that's for consumers, right? What consumers gonna benefit from Web 3.0.
Yes.
Let's talk about in business, in corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So why people in business wants to have Web 3.0? What benefit that they can have?
No, it's actually a great question, because I myself is a founder, and of course, you always want your business to be profitable, right? But I think I mean, you are driven as a human being. We are driven about bringing that change, right? And making better products, making more improvements, right? So the thing is, when you build a product, of course, like not the example is SpaceX, right? Uh, New Elon Musk had this great vision, like making our human race a planetary species. And it's such a big corporation, so he doesn't want that to be like it's a non-profit and he's not making any money out of it. He definitely wants to have a profit out of it. But right now, if you look at it, what is the monetary value he will get out of it, right? From business perspective, right? So to answer your question means, for me, when I am building a product, right, let's say I'm solving a problem of cross border payments, right, and I'm building product in that, definitely you want your company to be profitable, right? And when we say, I mean, consumers, they have control and they will pay less fee, and they will pay, they will receive funds faster, right? It doesn't mean there's no profit at all for me as a business. Of course, there is some fee to transact it, but it may not be as high as what it used to be, right? Now, like Facebook, when Facebook came in, was launched, it's still free, right? But they came up with another business model, and it's a very profitable company so far, right? So I think the same way for business, the thing is, you do business and you build products because you want to make this world a better place. I think that's very philosophical. But at the same time, like that kind of like improving consumers life, your life, businesses life, right? Like basically it's driven from that. It's not only driven from monetary value, right? If it's only driven from monetary value and you're only looking for a profit, then what is the probability even consumers will like it? You build a product for consumers so that they will like it, and then monetary value will follow. It's not the other way around.
So for a new person who's
Mhm.
getting into Web3, blockchain world, where they can start it, how they can start using Web 3.0 in their day-to-day lives, where they can start.
Right now, actually, when we say Web 3.0, there's a very, you know, few thing that's in production, right? And it's just like, this is a term actually we just started using from last, I would say, like 3 4 years maybe. Right? So it's kind of pretty new. The first thing is really kind of learning about all these new technologies, right? And how can we really use it the right way? So there are now like so many forums, and even though these big corporations like Microsoft, Google, they have so many courses, like literally free material you can access, and you can learn about blockchain, AI, Internet of Things, right, metaverse, like all of that. And then of course, in especially in this industry, we need loads and loads of builders, right? So when people, they have knowledge about it, they know what it is, they have kind of some experience using it, then of course they come in and they build those next generation of products, right? And then we will see like a lot more improvement and a lot more products which are built using Web 3.0. Yeah, but I would say just go to these channels where you see all these this material, this you know all these courses, and at least get educated about it, get awareness about it.
A lot of people are also scared of Bitcoin,
Hmm.
because if you are talking about Web 3.0, if you're talking about blockchain,
Hmm.
there's no way we can't talk about Bitcoin.
Yep, yep.
That is the next digital currency, right?
Hmm.
What are your views on that? Should we be scared of it? Should we start using it in our day-to-day lives?
Okay. Well, I'm into cryptocurrencies, like this whole ecosystem. I'm working in it for like 9 years, and I just love it. I think this is the best decision I made for myself, and I've consider myself being lucky.
Do you invest in Bitcoin too?
I would not like to say that on a public platform.
Should we invest in Bitcoin? Let's just put it that way.
I will. I will. This is not a financial advice. Use your own judgment. And but my answer: do I believe in Bitcoin? Do I believe in digital currency? The answer is yes, absolutely. I and uh, and I mean, tomorrow the value of Bitcoin may go to millions of dollars. Maybe it will be zero. I don't know that. But definitely the technology and this asset class that we have created, it has great potential. So I myself is a believer of, you know, a believer of like blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, and I do believe these, cryptocurrencies does have, this whole asset class that we created. It definitely has a future.
Because a lot of people say that, okay, invest in gold.
Uh-huh.
It holds value.
Yep.
But right now, Bitcoin is going down, right? So, should we invest in Bitcoin?
Okay. I think I don't know like how to kind of give you a clear answer on that because it's such a like controversial kind of thing sometimes. But I think the first thing is, this thing, when we talk about like investment, it goes in gold because it has a real value, right? And investment into stocks, and because, of course, again, those stocks are correlated to some specific,
Commodity.
operation that has a value, right? Then real estate, right? And when we say like, okay, Bitcoin, right? What is the intrinsic value it has, right? Uh, and then it comes to, there's this use case, and you must have, heard like this whole thing you heard of like thousand times. When it comes to our dollar we use, it's just a piece of paper.
Piece of
And
paper,
now
yeah.
it's nothing but a number in the computer, right? So, they say like it's, and the way our governments are printing money,
Exactly.
right?
It's the value's going down.
Exactly, the value is going down, right? So there's this like whole philosophy behind it. Means the thing is, you get, dollar is basically based on faith. But I don't believe that that's even 100% true. That's partially true. Um, then it comes to means, people when they give value to something, they believe in it, right? And they have faith in it. That's, that's where you kind of like see, okay, it has a value. But and this is just like a, these all philosophical and like long debates you will hear from so many different people, and they talk about it. But why do I like Bitcoin? And why do I invest in it? And I will not say like you should invest or you should not invest, right? That's everyone's personal choice. But to me, the thing is, if we look, baby boomers, they are the richest generation in human history, right? And when they were young, the the access they had to products and to investments, right, that was incredible. Like this whole like hedge fund market, wealth management, all these industries were created that time, for them, and they had incredible opportunities, right? But now, I mean, many baby boomers are already retired, and some going to retire in the next 10 years, right? And this wealth transfer we see in human history, which is from 28 trillion to 30 trillion dollars, as per research analyst. That's wealth transfer from baby boomers to coming to millennial, our generation, and then Gen Z, right? So this is where we see like this wealth transfer of like literally 28 to 30 trillion dollars. And the difference I see means something you can't ignore, and you can't ignore the trend. And that trend is, for younger generation, they don't have access to that kind of products anymore where your return is very good. Of course, still you invest into stock market and you get, 8%, 10%, 16, whatever, right? Like you get, return. But opportunities are not where it's like you have high risk, high reward, and, like exponential growth. That has been stagnated in last few years. um, so this is where, I mean, something that's just not, ignorable, especially this trend from younger generation and their passion and enthusiasm for digital currencies, digital assets. I last week only I was at mainnet conference, and one thing about this crypto industry means most of the crowd you see who are building this industry, it's really like the younger generation actually leading it. So I think, this is where I do see, for every generation it was different, and for, like younger generation to have access to new asset classes where they get good return on their investments, we definitely need some more good products in the market, and digital asset is, one of that, um, you know investment class, you can say. But that specifically we can talk about, let's say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are more like a blue chip, tokens or currencies now. On the other end, actually, when you are tokenizing real world assets, right? That's incredible use case of these tokens. It just brings a lot of value and efficiency into our traditional financial markets. So that's where like it. Cryptocurrency is not only limited to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Well, of course, Bitcoin was the first one, and being the first digital currency, it is, it holds a great value. But with these, layer one protocols and new innovations we have been seeing, and tokenizing of real world assets, there's a, real use case, and that's where it kind of gave access to younger generation to invest into these new assets and, get good value on their investments. Yeah, and, the another example, I mean, uh, 20, 30 years ago, 20, maybe 20 years ago, if someone would have said, will you sit in a cab with some complete stranger, not a cab, like just like literally like complete stranger, people would just freak out and say, no way, like that's not safe at all, right? And will you just go and live at someone's house, right? You never know, right? And that's like that's where,
Unless you're dead rebel.
yeah, right. And that was a culture 20 plus years ago, right? But today, Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, it's normal. This is what we use on daily basis.
Yeah,
So I think with time, with new generation, it's, constantly evolving, and
it's
digital assets or digital currencies, evolution of money. It's just one part of that, and we will be using it more and more in the future.